What's up, everybody? It's CW Lemoyne. Had an aviation vlog planned for, I don't know if today or tomorrow. This is Sunday morning, but had an aviation vlog planned, but after Friday, I just kind of wasn't feeling it. And as many of you know, first time to the channel, I'm CW Lemoyne. I wrote some books. I do a lot of things, the fighter pilot thing, the airline pilot thing, but one of the other things that's very important to me is my involvement in law enforcement. I'm a reserve deputy with the local sheriff's department. And on Friday, in the sleepy town of Mandeville, which is where I'm driving right now, there was an officer killed in the line of duty. Captain Vincent Vinny Liberto Jr. He had been a Marine for 10 years before joining the Mandeville PD. He was there for 25 years, and I think he'd recently been promoted to captain. So he'd served his community, he'd served his country, and I think he might have even been off duty. So basically what happened, a MARC unit was attempting to make a traffic stop, and the two suspects decided to flee. They didn't stop, but he heard the call come out over the radio and joined the pursuit. And during the course of the pursuit, the suspects crashed, and the driver got out and started shooting rounds at the officers. He grazed the officer in the MARC vehicle, and then pointed his weapon inside the car through the passenger side of Captain Liberto's unit and fired, hitting him twice, once in the chest. It was a fatal injury, and he died. At that point, the suspect fled on foot, and other units showed up, and they eventually apprehended him uninjured and safe. So it's just very sad. And I've got the Facebook page. I'm constantly posting every time there's a officer involved shooting, which seems like it's happening more and more every day, and the media kind of sweeps it under the rug because they're more interested in when a cop does something wrong, or when there's an officer involved shooting, and they can sensationalize it and they can make it something that it's not. They're more worried about ratings and being first than being right. And you get lies like hands up, don't shoot, and other stuff like that. It's criminally negligent. But the thing is, right now, it's a very sad time for this community. We lost a hero Friday. He leaves behind a wife and 7 children, one of whom is with the sheriff's office. And he wasn't on shift at the time, but he just lost his dad. And I know what that's like, and it was one of the worst days of my life when I lost my dad. So you don't think it's going to happen here in a sleepy town like Mandeville. It's a very small community. I think the Mandeville PD's got 60 officers, of which he was in charge of about half of them as the captain. And it's not like New Orleans. It's not a major metropolitan. In fact, the news of his death was eclipsed Friday night by a shooting, drive-by shooting in New Orleans. So the news coverage has been almost nil. And really 2 lives were lost, because not only did we lose a hero, but the 21-year-old, and I'm not going to name him, I'm not going to give him the time of day, because he is he's trash. You kill a cop, you're trash. He had every opportunity in the world to turn his life around and made some very bad decisions, and I just don't understand why. I don't understand what drives somebody to do that. He had been in trouble with some drugs previously, and he had been given the opportunity via diversion programs and the chance to turn his life around. And the weapon that he used, it's not, everybody says, well, gun control. He used a stolen firearm. So no law would have prevented what happened, because he was already very much breaking the law when he was stopped, and that's the reason he ran, and that's the reason he shot. But his life's over. Whether he gets the death penalty or life in prison, his life has effectively been ended. And all for what? He made something that could have been very small and very minor, and maybe he had gotten in trouble, and okay, we deal with it, but the rest of his life is now gone. He's never going to get that back. and he came from a very affluent area in the part of the parish. He wasn't, he didn't live a life on the streets or anything like that. He just made bad decisions. And it's sad from that perspective, although, he was an adult, so he made poor choices, and as a result of that, a family and a community are now hurting because we lost a really good guy. And I had met him professionally a couple times through doing details with the sheriff's office, Mardi Gras, and special events and stuff. I mean, he wouldn't know me if I saw him, and I probably wouldn't, unless somebody said, "Hey, that's Captain Liberto." I wouldn't know him either, but I know we've met. And it's very sad, and it affects everyone in law enforcement when something like this happens. And the thing is, the narrative has been twisted in the last 10 years such that people don't know the truth. And yes, there are those that abuse their powers, and those that do should be prosecuted to the max extent of the law. There's no excuse for a police officer or law enforcement officer to abuse their power. But the majority, 99%, are good people, heroes that run to the sound of danger. In fact, when this all came out on Friday, I was coming back from the gym. I was going home, and on the highway by the gym to my house, it's a 3-lane road, so it's 2 lanes, and then there's a turning lane in the middle. And as I pulled onto the road going north, I saw, I heard sirens, and I saw a unit behind me going towards Mandeville, and then approaching, I saw 4 units. And they all had lights and siren, and they were all in the middle lane, and you could tell something was happening. So I pull over, as you're supposed to. You're supposed to yield to the right to the max extent possible. And I had the windows down, because it was just, it was a nice day. And you could smell the brakes, and you could hear the engines. And, even with the sirens, you could hear it. You knew that every one of those deputies was going because that call had come out for shots fired, and they were going they were running towards danger, and they were going to try to save lives and protect people, because at the time, I don't know, the timeline, but at the time, there was someone who just shot a cop on the loose, and they were telling people to get inside because they were putting themselves between innocent civilians and the threat. And that is the law enforcement I know. Those are the people that I'm proud to call brothers and sisters. Those are the people that I'm proud to support. With people say, well, the thin blue line. The thin blue line is a concept of what separates good versus evil. They're the people that are actually, they're the sheepdogs. When the wolf's growling at the door, these are the people that are doing the job to try to protect innocent people, because innocent people don't want to believe that there's a wolf. They don't want to believe that evil exists. They want to just live in their world, but it does. And these people put on this uniform and put on these vests, and although unfortunately Captain Liberto wasn't wearing a vest at the time, they put on the uniform every day knowing that it could be their last. It could be the traffic stop could end up in a pursuit like this, and could end up with shots fired, or they could make a split-second decision that'll affect the rest of their lives. We look at these officer-involved shootings, these incidents with 20/20 hindsight. You look at them and go, well, how come he didn't, I see the stupidity of the general public. Why didn't he shoot the gun out of his hand? Why didn't he shoot him the wound? Because when this is happening, you don't have 20/20 hindsight. You don't have perfect clarity of what's going on. All you have is from that officer's perspective, and that's how we judge incidents. We judge incidents based on what the officer knew, based on the information they had, which is very tragic when something happens and they're wrong. But again, it's life and death situations, and there's an act right now, some politicians trying to make a thing where lethal force is the last result. What's going to happen is you're going to end up getting more officers killed, because they're going to hesitate when they shouldn't, when they have microseconds, milliseconds to respond, and they have to hesitate because they're afraid that some politician's going to hang them out to dry, and they're not going to get protected when something happens. And that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. That shouldn't be the way it is. We have to support, because The alternative is these people with stolen firearms running around killing innocents. I mean, if he had the gall to shoot a cop during a pursuit, what do you think he would have done to an innocent civilian when he robbed him? You know, once you've crossed that threshold that you're willing to kill to take another life, I don't understand why people want to give criminals more of an advantage than the people that are sworn to protect us. I know it's a rant. The bottom line, we lost somebody. We lost a hero. We lost somebody that was very well respected within the community. We lost somebody that people knew and loved, and we're going to be hurting for a while. And it's just sad. So rest in peace, Captain Liberto. We have the watch from here, and yeah, I'll be back with a vlog eventually, you know, in the next week or so with some more flying stuff. But I wanted to address it because it's wrong. It's tough. So anyway, I'll see you next time.